at that point in his life, I don't think Harvey was mixing as much with the people in the pits as he might have in his heyday. And Dickie Williams, because he'd been an official at different racetracks and had been around race cars and racing people, wasn't thought of as a promoter who wasn't in touch with the competitors. Everybody liked Dickie.
I had drove, owned. I worked at Stafford and Thompson, handicapping, inspected, worked with Brooksley at New Smyrna flagging. I've done about every aspect, and there was a lot of things that I thought that should be implemented to help the drivers, owners, and all that, especially the little guys.
And I think he was the kind of guy that when people saw that he was making a real effort to get this thing going in '78, they wanted to help him get it going.
He just kind of had a way with people. You know, people would go out of his way to help him. I mean, Harvey was more of a businessman than Dick was. Dick worked for Chirenza Excavation at the time. And when Dick first took the track over, Sam Chirenza, who owns Chirenza Excavation here in Westerly, he kind of like backed him.
This all happened because we heard Sam Chirenza, I worked for his dad, and we heard that the Speedbowl wasn't going to open. They were looking for somebody to run it, and Sam said, well, you want to, I was telling him about it, you want to try it? And I said, yeah, I think we can make it go.
I think Dick's organization was called Coastal Racing Association.
Dick was very, very popular with the people that worked for him. Everybody liked him. The competitors liked him.
I liked him. He was kind of footloose and fancy-free.
I thought he did an excellent job. He would always listen to you.
You know, you could always depend on him. He was really a good guy.
He was a person that truly cared about the car owners.
He was very approachable. Harvey, I don't think, was as approachable as Dick was. Dick just was he tried to make things right. He tried to do right by the competitors, and they really respected him and liked him.
Dick Williams had to try to come out with a lot more engine rules. He did away with the sportsman class. Tried to pay a little bit more money.
I wanted to open up if other people wanted to come in and join us and do all that, you know. I wanted to promote the racetrack and get a nucleus of cars where you had to race to get into the features. And that's one thing I see the guys now, and they said, one thing I didn't want to do was run the concert in the London.
He attracted a lot. I mean, instantly as a photographer, I saw the difference right away, and just a massive amounts of cars started showing up for the races. And I thought, this is great. You know, it just seemed like it'd go on forever.
He brought race cars in, and when you bring race cars, you bring people.
He always made himself accessible, always a racers type guy.
Loved racing, and to me, that's important in a promoter.
He definitely was a competitor's friend. And he always wanted to know what he needed to do to make the product better. And I remember him specifically asking those questions.
A great guy to talk to. I don't think he ever acted like a big shot promoter or anything.
There was no real, persona as, the man in charge or anything.
I got a picture of Ronnie Bouchard, Bobby Judkins, and Dick Williams in Victory Lane after what I believe was the Blast-Off 100 that year. And they're all smiling. You know, it's a cold day. Dick's wearing a coat. Judkins is wearing a coat. Ronnie looks cold, in his fire suit. But they're happy, and there's people in the background. And every time I look at that picture, I just think of that period. I would only kind of come down in that particular period for the big shows, but it was fun, and it seemed like the place was kind of going through a little bit of not a rebirth, but maybe a rejuvenation. And I think that was all Dick Williams.
I kind of call him the competitor's promoter, because he had an interest in making the track work, knowing that the competitors is what the people come to see.
Had as much passion for trying to make the product as good as possible and sell the product as anybody that I've ever been involved with.
When Harvey was running the track, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I think it was, more the twilight of his career, and I don't know how much energy and enthusiasm, he really had left in him in building up the bowl, because it did need to be built up.
Dick really breathed life back into the racetrack.
That track had been so strong for so many years, and it was in that late 70s period when it was kind of becoming its own little island, divorced from all these other places, that you started worrying, was it going to be there? You know, and when Dick started putting that effort in, I think people wanted to help him, whether they were regulars here or not. And I think that made a lot of the big shows even bigger.
Racing needs a promoter that's a racer. It's very important. They understand what the guys are going through and the battles. And
I knew just about all the guys. And one thing, they knew that I was going to be fair. Sometimes I've had friends of mine that I had to send home, and we were just laughing about the other day. But I tried to do it fairly, and I think I had that trust, and the guys were great. I mean, that wasn't the problem.
He was the kind of guy that the racing really needed, and it was a shame that he bowed out of the track after, I think it was just one season.
If you're going to lease something and run it, you've probably looked at the place for a few years, and Dick Williams obviously knew Waterford, but he would probably look at the number of fans, look at all the cars in the parking lot, and not realize that maybe, you know, the concession guy takes this and somebody else takes that, and maybe it wasn't what he thought it was going to be, or maybe the terms changed after '78. But I remember thinking that it was kind of a shame because he was just such a good guy.
He did Speedbowl so good that Westboro wanted him, and then Monadnock wanted him.
'77 was interesting in that it was an introduction for me into speedbowl photography. '78 was a great year. 1979 I remember as being somewhat lackluster because we had lower car counts again. It was worse than '77. We had Dickie Williams in '78 with us great racing, and we went into the fall and we were getting all these race cars from other places. I remember Eddie Flemke, for instance, in the Manchester Sand and Gravel car showed up, and he was running as a regular. We had Rolly Lapierre Jr. running with us. But then we got back to '79 and Harvey was running the show again, and if things picked up again in '80, and then in '81 it was getting a lot better.
So '81, you're doing Thompson, Westboro, Monadnock, and the Speedbowl?
Yes.
Dick just had so much passion for the sport that you couldn't help but like him. It was fun to see him do that year.
I saw that the tracks couldn't afford them every week. So by doing the 4 tracks, I could run a special race every 4th week at one of the tracks, run the other 3 with your crew, and then they could participate if they wanted in the other one. But what I did, I had 4 major sponsors that they didn't actually sign up, but they agreed to do all this. All of them pulled out. Now I'm stuck with the 4 tracks. So I was really up against it.
Just to show you what a real racer Dick was, Monadnock ran every Thursday in that period. That was his Thursday track. He had Westboro and Waterford on Saturdays, and he had Thompson on Sundays. He didn't mess with any Friday night stuff. I'd be one, I was 19 or 20 years old, but I'd be one of the last people out of the pits at Monadnock. And Dick, a lot of times I'd bump into him in the parking lot. And by now it'd be 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and we'd both get running down I-91, and there was a diner up near Greenfield or somewhere. And he would wave, he'd blink the lights or something, pull up next and wave, like, you want to get something to eat, you want to get a coffee. And we would sit there and just talk about racing. Now, here, both of us are going probably to Stafford tomorrow. He's got 2 tracks to run on Saturday. He's got Thompson to run on Sunday. But it never stopped for him. He was a racing guy, and that's all he wanted to know about. He wanted to know what you thought about that night at Waterford. Not from we didn't really talk about how many people were there that night or, any officiating stuff. He just wanted to talk about the racing.
Back then, it was just, I remember Westboro, I used to leave the pits open. Them guys would stay there, some of them all night and party. And I says, you're going to police yourself. If I get one report, it's closed. They would lock the place up and do that and clean the place and everything. And next morning I wouldn't know. Wow. But you couldn't do that now. There's no way you could do that now. But that's the way it was.
Was he a businessman? No, but I guess his son Darrell was the office manager. He kind of made everything happen behind the scenes, and Dickie was kind of the present on the racetrack in the pits.
I remember loaning my car to somebody that was running for the championship to go to Virginia, loaning your car and bring it back after the race. But if a guy needed a tire or something.
He was competitor first and the business aspect of it second. And he would do anything to help you back, get out if you wrecked again. He would, you need a little bit of money. He always tried to take care of people.
I can remember a couple nights, the first year I was racing, destroy the car, and you go up to get your $25 tow money. And I can remember him handing me $200 bills at the window. And that was like, a big paycheck back then, getting $200. He told me, hey, I really appreciate you coming and running, and, you put on a good show out there, try to get back here for next week. So, I can remember that real clear.
We took our car to the car shows here and there, up to Big E. Yeah. And, you do that just doing a favor for the track and helping them out. But when Dick Williams took the track over, if you took your car up there, every car owner took that car to that Big E show, they got a brand new set of tires opening day. All you had to do was go to the truck, you had 4 tires. Brand new tires, he paid for everything. For all the guys that brought their cars. And I never had another promoter ever do that, and he was just an awesome guy.
I don't know what to tell you. I tried, and it wasn't about money with me. That was the problem. I shouldn't have given away so much. But that's fine. That's fine. I wouldn't change that part of it. Because, hey, I was one of them. I knew, and I knew how hard. And I remember sitting in the office one night talking with a gentleman and my son, which was the biggest asset I had. And he was only in high school, but he understood all of this, and a very smart kid. And he said, Dad, why did you spend them 3 hours in there? I said, I'm going to tell you why, and listen to me. This guy worked all week, and just to get here. And I owe it to him.
He was just a real racing guy. I don't know if he had his arms around the financial end of what was involved in what he was doing at the time, because it was awfully ambitious.
He was trying to be so fair to everybody that sometimes that's not the way to go. I mean, it's nice to treat people nice, it's nice to be fair to everybody, but you can't keep giving away what he was. He tried to take care of everybody, and you just couldn't do that.
And it was always hard for him because, he wanted to do the best things for the racers, and sometimes that wasn't the best thing for Dick Williams.
I think he just took on too much, and then it just got to be overwhelming.
Pretty certain he wasn't coming back, yeah. I was pretty friendly with him, and we talked a lot, so I pretty much knew he wasn't, yeah. He just couldn't afford it anymore.
There wasn't a banquet that year.
I don't think I was surprised that there wasn't a banquet.
I don't think I was disappointed. I felt worse for Dickie knowing the situation he was in.
If it wasn't for Art Moran and his fan club, we wouldn't have a trophy for the '84 championship. And the first race of the '85 season, they presented us with a trophy for the '84 championship.
Wow, that's really cool.
It was awesome.
I told the guys when I got out, I got to get out. Don't call me. I don't want to know anything. I either got to be out or in. And I was at the point where I was overwhelmed. I had to get out. And it was sad.
I remember Dick Williams being hurt by the way the whole thing had happened. He was on such a high, that he kind of had all these tracks, 4 tracks cooperating. You could really see that he was, putting his heart and soul into it. And I don't know why it didn't work out, but I remember Dick kind of looking and sounding like a beaten man at the end of it, which was heartbreaking because he was a great guy, and he's still a great guy.